Welcome to the MIT at Innovation Program podcast. This is a repository of insights by thought leaders and practitioners of innovation where they speak about their views, insights, and experiences. Come join us.
Innovation has different definitions, but what innovation actually means? Innovation means, like I've given my definition here, it means application of novel ideas, useful concepts to innovate technology, products, solutions, or even something which is a concept, which could be then transformed for the good of this world, for the humankind, which means innovation is inclusive, it's not exclusive. Today, who is an innovator? The next question, who is actually innovating? I can go on this question itself, but I think I will go ahead. But if you have some questions to ask me, you can obviously come back to me later. Who is an innovator? An innovator is a visionary, number one. I will always quote the one innovator who I look up to is Steve Jobs, because he gave the world the smartphone. If not for him, we wouldn't know what smartphone is like. We were living in the world of a small Nokia phone. That itself was a big innovation for us. And when the mobile came up, but when the smartphone came, today the world has evolved. It has transformed. We cannot live without a smartphone. You take a WhatsApp platform, the applications, the apps have become the main source today. We even are moving away from having a computer. We don't even need a computer in the days to come. We're going to have a small tablet that's going to act as a dual function, where it's going to become a mobile plus your own, a mini laptop. So this is what innovation means. And an innovator is a visionary who's not looking from a near-term or a short-term perspective. You always have to think from 360-degree view and a long-term, beyond your own lifespan. Can you give or create something that is going to benefit the mankind 50 years from now or 100 years from now? And we always have to ensure that innovation means we are also taking into the consideration of sustainability, quality, and ensuring it is also safeguarding our environment. It just doesn't mean you're creating anything and everything. Your thought process has to always, the question has to always be in your thoughts, what am I innovating? Why am I innovating, and how am I innovating? And by my innovation, is it going to benefit or is it going to cause some harm? These are the questions that has to always come up. I'm sure all of us want to be a great innovator. We need to create something, and we have this passion to give this world something phenomenal. So an innovator, in simple words, is a visionary who actually thinks beyond his lifespan. That's very important. And another very important aspect is always focus on quality and not quantity. What are different types of innovation does it there? And what does this mean? And how do we innovate? Today, if you look at here, I've given this 4 boxer. So first, let's talk about what is radical innovation. Radical innovation means as an organization or as an individual, I'm creating something. Today, if you look at the startups, everybody is coming up with some idea. They have an idea, they want to ideate it. They form a team, they have the like-minded people, they do the assessment of the market, they find out who's their competition, is there some product or technology or a solution existing in this world? If not, then they try to see what is their USP, and they come up with a great concept and they kind of build. So today, India is the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. We are about at least 42,000 startups rest in India, of which 7,200 startups are in deep tech. So we are growing phenomenally. Innovation is happening in India. But what does this different kinds of innovation mean to us? So radical innovation is where you do inside out, where I have an idea, I'm going to ideate that and then give this world something that is going to help them solve either their problem or give them a product that they might have some very good use to it. So it's an inside out. Now, corporates fall under one of these categories. Or if you take startups, they all come under radical innovation because they're starting something and they're giving this world. It could be, I'm coming up with a very interesting app. I'm going to do a food delivery. If you take Swiggy, or some of these Zomatos, they have disrupted the world. So they come under a different category. That's the word I've already used. They come under disruptive innovation. So if it's radical innovation, I'm going to create today, say as a Rolls-Royce, I might come up with an engine. Today we are building a massive engine, jet engines. We are known for that. That's our secret recipe. And tomorrow we might give the world a very interesting engine that could be, this today, like Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars and setting up a whole life there. So he wants to send satellites. We could build engines for the satellites. We don't know. Or we could make a hybrid engine. We could make an electric engine, something. That's radical innovation. We want to give the world something that's new, that's something compact, and that's going to help save, our environment, reduce fuel, reduce the fuel, increase, go zero carbon neutral, many more things. So that's radical innovation. What is sustaining innovation? Sustaining innovation is between radical and disruptive. So I'll first talk about what is disruptive innovation. Disruptive innovation is outside in, which means there is something happening outside, and I, as an organization, will adapt to the disruptive innovation. And if I have to give the examples of disruptive innovation, it's like the Ubers of the world, Grab Cab in Singapore, or Zomato, Swiggy, or Airbnb. They disrupted the entire hotel industry. So that's something outside in. It's not the hotel industry, or like the five-star hotels did something. There was an external entity came up and started this whole thing. That's an outside in. That is disrupting the existing business models. Now, sustaining innovation is between radical innovation and disruptive. They do have a blend of both. So I, as an organization or a corporate or a startup, will say, okay, I'm very good at these products. Can I also leverage what is coming from outside in, and then build the best of creme de la creme and go about driving my business? So I can have different business models. Now, then coming back to what is incremental innovation. Incremental innovation is something that which we have always been doing. If you take a software company or in a software organization, say now today I have Mac, so I have a software, iOS. So they continuously are giving me new features. Every 6 months, every 1 year, I'm getting new features. And every 2 years, I'm getting a new product. They're giving me different features. So it's called incremental. I'm incrementally doing something different, where I'm again transforming how my product looks, or how it can keep enhancing its performance or the features to me, which is going to make me feel really good. So, or at least enable the way I work, or add in some of the features that's going to benefit or be very extremely useful for me to do my day job or any other thing. So that's incremental innovation. I can take questions, but if you have any questions, keep it and you can ask me later. So I can move on now. So how do we innovate? In my perspective, I champion the open innovation platform or the framework. Innovation should always be based on the open model, because if you want to innovate, this universe is the opportunity. I should be able to adapt and adopt to concepts that's available in the industry. I cannot be fixated and say, this is how I will innovate, because innovation is not it doesn't happen within a day or overnight. Innovation is a long drawn process. You have to invest your time, money, effort, and most important, the thought process. You need to always question yourself, who am I innovating? What am I innovating? Why am I innovating? And how do I go about innovating? And why am I even trying to innovate? Why innovation in the first place? It's not about just creating products because I want to make money. I also want to be the $1 billion startup by whatever years, and I want to set this up. I believe this, I have a huge opportunity, because today everybody is coming up with this idea of they can come up with a startup so they can get funding and they'll become the unicorn. It doesn't work like that, because you need to really, really think through the whole process and understand why are you doing this. You need to understand who is your target market. Most importantly, how is it going to benefit everybody? Are you capable? And most importantly, innovation means you should also be able to think, why should my customer, or if my target market want to have this particular technology or solution, how is it going to impact? So these are the concepts that you have to constantly think. And to achieve that kind of innovation, the only method is to go open, do an open innovation. So let's understand why open innovation. So this is something I always believed, and it's a strategy that I've developed for Rolls-Royce, which is based on the open innovation framework. I call it open innovation partnership model. Today, we have so much available in the industry. I need not duplicate anything. Example, I might want to create, say, an app or a platform, which is going to, I'll take the example of what I proposed on the National Health Registry. Today, I want to build a National Health Registry, which is going to have a huge impact for in a country like India, and it's going to benefit people at large, and especially the healthcare vertical. What am I talking about? I'm not talking about doing anything new. The Arogya Setu app has already has been implemented. There is a whole effort gone in to doing that. So what should the government do? All they need to do is adapt this model, make certain mandatory policies where they will get the the data collection. So which already UIDs, the Aadhaar card has all the data. It's just that leveraging all of this existing model or all the data that is available and building on top of it. It is only streamlining certain structures in integrating other concepts which I have proposed. So, and for that to happen, I'm talking about, the government doesn't even have to get the ministry to do this. There's something called partnership model. So there are public-private partnerships, PPP. And these guys, where you bring in the corporates, you bring in the startups, you bring in the government regulation, the policy makers, you bring all of these guys together and then create this whole blueprint and start executing on it. And this model, it's not only going to help benefit the entire humankind, but it's also going to create job opportunities. You're going to, set a global example. There's a lot of different things that can be achieved. I'm just giving this as an example as to why partnership model, why it is very important. You don't have to buy the technology. We just have to collaborate with different partners, bring all of them together to be able to achieve what you want. So if you look at the why, again, when I say why partnership innovation model, if you look at, I'm talking about leveraging existing frameworks. You always have to see who has done what, and you need to only give that the secret recipe, the secret sauce, which is what your thought process has to be. What is your USP to that? That is what you have to call it out. Rest, everything is already there. Then it's a minimal investment. You don't have to have a huge capex to go and do something. Then it's a joint go-to-market, which means you're leveraging everybody's network to go and sell. It's co-working space. You don't have to again invest in a huge office infrastructure. You can leverage your partners, partner offices, or there are today also the concept of co-working space itself. And not, when I say co-working space, I'm not talking about the WeWorks sort of. I'm talking about when you collaborate with a partner, corporates or big entities, you can just leverage their office, their existing infrastructure to leveraging and going ahead with doing what you want. And then solutions to business problems. There are already solutions that's available. You just need to retrofit it. And today, startups also intend to invest. And when I say startups intend to invest, I believe what I'm saying is the ecosystem wants to invest so that they can see the value that they will get from doing such innovation itself. Now, when I'm saying they will be benefiting, I'm specifying here startups because startups are, I would say, niche in the industry. They need to leverage on what is available to you. They need to get that knowledge. They need to get the subject matter expertise. They need to get the technology guidance, many things. You might come from IIT, IIM. So today you're from MIT, ID. You have learned certain skills, but there are a lot of skills that is already available in the market, and you need to leverage that. Never go about trying to create everything from scratch. What you need to think is, what is your USP? That has to be your core IP in this whole thing. So that's why partnership innovation, the open innovation partnership model, is absolutely the way to go forward in today's day and age, with the kind of resources, with the kind of technology, with the kind of stuff that we have open to us. Even education is getting online, it's becoming free, it's open. Anyone, those who want to build their skills, can go and sign up for it. Harvard has come up with so many free online courses. It's becoming open platform, open. Everything is open. So why reconstructing and restructuring model of innovation? I think I covered some of these points when I was talking about so I'm going to give an example here. Why reconstructing? Today, if you take an organization like where I'm working, say Rolls-Royce, we are high-tech industrial manufacturing organization. Now, for us to do the innovation, it doesn't mean that I have to, I'm going to come up with a new engine, I'm going to develop this, I want to bring in the digital technology, and I'm going to use all of this new way of building the engine. So whatever is there, my legacy system or the traditional way of developing doesn't make sense. I'm going to just remove and chuck it. No, it doesn't work like that. What it means is we have to retrofit. We have to use what is already there and see how you can blend with the current latest and greatest technology and retrofit it. Then your technology, solution, product, everything has to be interoperable. When I say interoperable, if I'm going to take the technology versus domain, it has to both marry each other. If this interoperability doesn't happen, then my technology is no use, similar to my product. So anything that you build, you need to keep these factors in mind. How you can make things interoperable, because you don't have to remove everything. It has to always be able to integrate it. Scalable. Whatever that you're building has to be scalable. When I say scalable, see, today if I'm going to address a business problem within Rolls-Royce, it doesn't mean that it's only Rolls-Royce's problem. If I'm able to solve the Rolls-Royce problem and bring value to the business, I strongly believe that it means that this particular solution can be scalable for industry at large. There are other industries who will also have similar challenges. So any solution that you develop should be scalable. And most importantly, it has to be inclusive, which means it's not only done for a certain class or segment. And today, if you look at, there is a lot of this kind of classifications, right? Only certain, say example, if my mom and dad cannot use the smartphone, or they don't know how to operate it, there is a problem. Arogya Setu app also needs to be enabled for elderly people. Now, how are we going to achieve this? Which means it has to become inclusive. Anything that you do should be inclusive. It cannot be exclusive. And that is why the concept of reconstructing and restructuring is extremely critical. And especially in this current times where I'm sure everybody is seeing this huge job losses, people are losing job, they have no business going on. But can we say that, okay, the pandemic has caused this job loss, no business, no money in the market, things are crumbling down? Does that mean that we stop innovating? Does that mean, I have to shut down my business? No. Can you just reconstruct around what is there? How do we restructure? Okay, can I convert my office space into something else? Yes, you can. So you have to come up with innovative ideas. How are you going to do that? We have to, even in current times, we still need to continue having a business. We can't stop working. It's been 2 months. I've not moved out of my home. I'm working from home. Does that mean that I've stopped working? Does it mean it's inefficiency? Yeah, to a certain extent, yes. Everybody, we're trying to adapt. We're trying to cope up with this. We are trying to see what does a new normal look like. It's a virtual reality. Today, more and more jobs are going to be done online. So this is a new transformation. Advancement of technology is going to take place. There's going to be more technology. There is a lot more advancements in the capabilities, and different kinds of technologies are going to come in front. And you're going to see they are going to be the forefront of every industry, every organization. Even the fact that I'm able to sit here today and have this webinar is because of my technology infrastructure that has been made available to me. So you need to understand the power behind this. And we need to constantly think, how do we innovate? How do we restructure? How do we reconstruct? That has to be your primary foundation of all on the process of thinking. How do you go about doing this? And how do corporates innovate? I think I gave an example about how Rolls-Royce, what we are doing. We are trying to bring in the existing technology that is available instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, and leveraging our domain knowledge, and then blending to create a stronger solution, a solution that will bring us value to the business for increasing the productivity, reducing the cost and efficiency, so that we have faster turnaround time in whatever that we are doing. Take an example with IBM. IBM today has invested so much in Watson. It's doing phenomenal stuff. It's supercomputers, you name it. It's cloud infrastructure. They're going phenomenally ahead. Today, cloud is becoming very critical. I'm sure with days to come, things will change. From cloud, we'll move to edge. Edge computing is also becoming extremely critical. But today, if you say, how do we host data? We are working online, all the different, say, Google Meets to everybody. They are hosting the data somewhere, and that's cloud. And it's doing so much more for us. We have evolved from a CapEx to OpEx model. Everything is a service, software as a service, or whatever, as a service model. Everything is a service. You just have to subscribe to it. In maybe 20 years back, when I first joined IBM, I still remember sitting in my organization. I was just going to the server rooms. Okay, what are these black boxes all about? And today we don't even see them. And when somebody comes to do a software development, we are building a solution. They were using our technology. We used to give them VPN access. They had to come to our premise. We'll say, okay, we'll assign, you need so many licenses of DB2, different softwares, and then we would integrate. Everything was done in a very, when I say manual, it was done in a physical infrastructure space. But today, everything is on cloud. You just have to subscribe. Okay, I need this. You just get provision. You just have to say, I need so much, so much, so much. I need this part of, I need DB2, I need WebSphere, I'm looking at this application. It just gets provisioned in no time. That's the speed we have evolved. And it's phenomenal. And trust me, you people are the future of this world. And if you do not understand how you have to think and how you have to constantly keep reminding yourself, then nobody will. And you have to always think about, how am I going to help my future generation? So you must be always constantly thinking about, how am I going to make an impact in this world and create something that's going to benefit rest of my other generations. So this is what has to be today's speed. I didn't even have a laptop until I joined IBM, or I didn't even have a mobile phone till I joined IBM. It was amazing. And I've seen today my niece, who's just 7 years old, she's going online schooling, and she has a laptop for her own. It's so cute. And today, how everybody is so fast. They are hurtling so fast towards this transformation. It's amazing to see this. And take example of G. G has a very interesting model. They have their own, in-house innovation, where they invest so much capital to develop something phenomenal again. Similar to IBM. IBM has an R&D effort, and they dedicate their a set of, the top technical creme de la creme leaders and other thought leaders, subject matter expertise in creating and continuously innovating on technology that can transform and disrupt this world. So you have to always keep thinking new. You just cannot stand and say, you cannot get comfortable. You have to always become comfortable in the uncomfortable. You just cannot say, I've innovated, I'm done, and I can sit down and relax. It doesn't work anymore. So to summarize, most important is innovation is going to evolve at a speed that you might not have even imagined. And today, if I have to give one example, who's really an innovator in today's day and time, and that is Elon Musk for me, Tesla. They're doing phenomenal. I don't know how many of you have read the recent innovations that he's done. He is extremely successful in sending a reusable, the satellite and bringing it to ISS and getting it back. And then he's also developed a battery that can last for miles of hours, I guess. So this is something amazing. And this is called really disrupting. This is giving the world something that even humankind are not able to think. He's not stopped even in the times of where everybody's thinking what's going to be our future. You don't have to afraid. Every time there's something like this happens, then it's a universe's way to say that we need to rethink and ensure that the rail is not derailed and we bring it back on the track. So there's a bright future. Now you need to think how you really, really want to innovate. With that, I open up for question and Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shree. Wonderful, wonderful session. Really insightful. So we've already got the questions rolling in.
Sure.
Yeah. So 1 second. All right. So you mentioned how the Arogya Setu app should be inclusive and keep the old age population also in mind. Does Rolls-Royce have any such examples of the senior population inclusion in their products, or are they not the target customers?
So our customers are not directly the population itself, right? We work with so if you look at Rolls-Royce, we are engine manufacturers, so jet engines. So we work with the civil aviation, defense, and power systems. So for us, it's very, like I said, high-tech engineering manufacturing organizations. It's nothing to do with people directly, but we definitely cater to the people, because everybody is flying today. If you look at the amount of flights and the people traveling, the capacity is increasing day by day. And it's amazing to see how literally the flights have been grounded, and I believe it will resume, but not at least in the next 6 months time. I'm sure it will get back on track in 6 months to 1 year's time.
Sure. So you've done your graduation in business management, and then you've also done your computer science diploma. Where did the entire technology flavor really come into your life during your career path?
Thank you. That's an interesting question. Yes.
Yeah.
I never imagined I would ever be a technologist first. Yes, you're right about it. I did my bachelor's in commerce, and then it's a diploma in computer science was e-commerce again, something similar to, how do we look at online platforms for doing business. So it was in line to that. I never imagined I would ever be in IBM, because my dad is a ex-Indian Navy. He's from defense, and also senior manager, retired banker. He's a banker. He always had a dream that I have to join bank and become like him, or at least have a safe job. It's job security, he thought. I chose my own path. I said, no, I want to work, and IBM just came my way. And since then, I've never looked back, and I felt that there's something that I can do about. So as I evolved through my career, there's one thing that always hit me hard. People started telling me you're a non-techie. So I was managing a bunch of hardcore techies. They were developers and senior software engineers. And I was the program manager for that particular team. And every time the team would literally tell me, you're a non-tech, you're not an engineer, you just don't understand this. But I would sit through all the meetings, and I would ensure that I understand. It was always biting me back. What do I mean by saying I'm not a techie? Because they were talking about how do they program, how do they code, what's going to happen, this doesn't happen, whatever, the kind of, when they were doing implementation, this didn't go well, that didn't go well. And finally, one of my mentors, he was one of the IBM fellows. And one day I just bumped into him somewhere, and he said this, when I kept telling him, I'm non-techie. I had this for many years, which went rankling in my brain. And that day he said to me, I'm sorry, why do you keep calling yourself a non-techie? You are a techie, because if you are not there to influence technology, then what use is that technology? We develop behind. We are behind the scene people, and you are the face of the organization, because you go sell the technology. You make us look great. We are two sides of the same coin. And since that day, I've never looked back if somebody called me I'm non-techie. And after a period of time, there came a point in my life when, again, I had this feeling of, no, I'm not a techie or something. I don't understand technology. Somebody said something, I can't remember much. I didn't pay too much attention, but yes, it impacted me at that point in time. And one fine day, my mentor, this is my preceptor, who told me, why don't you start writing? So I was working for Singapore government on the SmartNation Initiatives project. I learned something phenomenal at that moment in time. There's something not going right, because everybody were going through this tops-down approach. IoT was the fad word at that time. I realized there's something wrong. It's not going to work. But my voice was never heard. it had to be a bottoms down approach because the protocol standardizations is not done. So everybody's coming up with their own product. It's not going to help anyone get there to, building this concept called smart cities. It is not going to ever sustain and they're going to fail. But the problem was every business were thinking, this is what I kept telling. Innovation means you have to first make money. No, it's not that. Everybody wanted their, share, their pound of flesh. They were all trying to get that. It doesn't work. And at that time, my preceptor said, why don't you start writing? And I know what the answer I gave him. I said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not a technologist. I don't know how to write. He said, you must be joking by saying this. He pushed my first article. I'll very proudly quote, and I'm always extremely grateful to him for this. He wrote my first article on LinkedIn for me. I mean, he just wrote and gave me, go publish it. I posted that first article, trust me, and after that, there's no looking back. And I would just go do research, I'll understand. And he taught me how to understand technology in a layman language. And he taught an example, how does the propulsion engine work? He gave me a simple example using the exhaust fan in the bathroom. And he just demonstrated it. To me, that's what technology is. And he said, if technology cannot be taught, even the most complex technology should be taught in a layman language where even a 5-year-old can understand. And I started literally learning in that capacity. And today I was able to just not write. I can just propose today. I go into the passion to research and give the world that they don't even know that it's required. It exists or can be done. That's how I move on.
Fantastic. So very, very important to have mentors who can actually simplify all the complex things that we kind of get bogged down with. I think that's fantastic. And the other part is like from being a non-techie, again, to yourself 20 years ago, to now being, the top 20, top 50, top 100 global thought leaders. How does that make you feel? And again, into the technology domain, right? We're talking about being an influencer in AI, blockchain, cloud, and the works. So how does that make you feel?
Humbled. Absolutely humbled. I don't feel I've achieved something great. There used to be a point when I just kept writing and he kept telling me, just write. I said, nobody reads, nobody does anything. I don't know what I'm doing. Just go writing. And every time he'll come up with a topic and say, just explain to me what this means. And I would sit I was on a sabbatical during this period when this whole thing is happening a year ago, since 2017, 2017 September till last year August, almost a year and a half close. Literally, I was on sabbatical. And during that period, he's just like he'll say, okay, why don't you write on AI? And then after researching, I would come up with a series. I used my own thought process to understand where actually AI came up about. Is this technology new? So I went to the depth and breadth of understanding it myself. I came up with knowing, when did this technology come into existence? Are we even looking at something new? Or has this been for years, which we didn't know? And these names have just come up, the fancy names that we keep, throwing on. And that is how I've evolved through it. And then today, finally, after a year, and somebody suddenly said, sent me this saying, you're the top, you've been nominated as the top 20 thought leaders in cloud AI. I was like, I don't know. I didn't react, and I only could say, I said, this is more my preceptor than me. Had he not pushed me to do this and constantly drive me up the wall and gave me that motivation, no, you can do it more. It's not enough. You can do this better. I wouldn't be here. And I can only say I'm humbled, and I would love to do more, where I think I need to do a lot more, so that it's it's a way I can say thank you to him.
Sure. I hope everyone who's listening into her, please draw your insights and your inspiration to actually go ahead and write as well at your end. I think even if you don't have a mentor who's you can always learn from our thought leaders during the session. So there's a question on what is TRIZ model used in Rolls-Royce. Is there something that you can shed some light upon? The TRIZ model.
What is it?
What is the TRIZ model used in Rolls-Royce? Would you be able to shed some light?
No, I don't know, but I can always come back on that.
Sure. So, Mohammed, maybe if you can just, send us the full form and we'll again reconnect with Shree offline and help you with the answer. We've got Chris asking, how is Rolls-Royce adapting with the emerging electric engine in the aviation industry?
Yes, I think you must have seen the news recently. We have been working along with Airbus, along with the Cranefield University. But right now, everyone has paused on that particular innovation because we need to focus on helping the business and the market recover. So our primary focus is through that. In fact, we have recently launched an initiative called Emergent Alliance, where even as students, you can just join the alliance and contribute to it if you're interested. This is a consortium formed where we came up with this idea. We registered this Emergent Alliance as an external entity, and we have partners like right from Google to NASA to MasterCard to Microsoft to IBMs of the world, you name it. Bosch, and we have many more joining this particular initiative and partnerships as a consortium members. And then what we are doing through this initiative is we are coming up with challenge statements, and we are building data dashboards through the predictive modeling, which will give and enable the decision makers across businesses, government, everyone, for a faster, quick decision making and rapid response to what aftermarket recovery will look like. And also look into some of the sustainability projects, which is very important because we have such kind of diverse creme de la creme industry partners collaborating with us on this initiative. And if you as an individual are interested, and this is a pro bono, everybody's contributing at no charge. It's just a give back to the world. You, even as a student, if you're a data scientist or data analytics and you have the capability, you just can sign in, or you can join the alliance online, and we look to see what you want to contribute. And it's a great learning opportunity.
Sure. One of our participants would like to know more examples of sustainable innovation that you spoke about in your slide.
Okay, so sustainable is what I talked about is both a mix of radical and disruptive, which is inside out and outside in, where today as an organization, I want to give this world, say example, like I mentioned for Rolls-Royce, I want to give the world a hybrid model of engine, or like we are talking about electrification, we want to give that. So I will be able to just independently develop it myself because I have all the secret recipes, I have the infrastructure, I have everything. And then I can say today, hey, look Airbus, look Boeing, I'm coming up with this kind of engine. Then do you want to, have an aeroplane that's going to suit this engine? So, and we can target, this is the way we will run this. You'll fly because you don't want to fly in this kind of huge numbers. This particular flight can be catered to a select market segment, something like that. So that's my inside out. When I say outside in, today, if you look at it, I don't want to, so I have a business problem. I'm not going to sit and work through that or innovate through that from scratch. I'm going to go out and see what solution is already there. Somebody, I'm sure GE has done, there's many others who have done. I'm going to go and scout for partners who have the particular solution. Okay, I will need an AI solution. It's all about emerging technology. It's all about deep tech. I can leverage what is there and then work within my internal team and then do that co-creation. So that is outside in model.
Sure, thank you. How do you think Indian academia can help industries in their innovation projects?
Very interesting question. Today, if you look at academy itself, it's a very interesting thing. In fact, my new article is what does the future of education look like? What is the new education model? How does the institutions have to adapt to how they need to be teaching the students? India itself is amazing with with the way we give importance to education. But to me, I believe we are still in the model or era which is 200 years old, which is a rote learning sort of. But we have to move out of that and see today young aspirants like you should be able to take up some of these challenges. So there are a lot of ways how different organizations or even industry for that matter are looking at the top talent, somebody who can come and help them solve certain things. I think you should always be on the lookout to see where you can contribute, how you can contribute. And like I said, your thought process has to be, how is this going to impact my future? How is this going to impact the world? What is that I'm going to be doing by contributing to that? So academy definitely plays a very, very important role. In fact, if you ask even at Rolls-Royce, we have signed up with institutions like IITs, Indian Institute of Science, because for us, we are heavy into data analytics, data scientists. We need PhD level grads because we have very niche skills requirement. So we constantly go and look for giving some of these projects to them as part of their internships and also their PhD thesis kind of programs. Besides that, Rolls-Royce also encourages their employees to go and get their PhD or any of those higher education that they are interested to enroll. So we have like a tie-up with the academia where they can, but they will have to go through the criteria, the selection criteria. That just because we have a tie-up doesn't mean they can easily get the entry, but they need to they have to prove themselves going through the entrance test or whatever that process is.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Aditya Gondlekar, for asking the question. We move on to how can we make a better India innovation in this COVID time for PM's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat in the next 2 years.
Can you repeat the question for me?
Yes. So in line with the PM's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat by year 2022, how can India do better on its innovation?
To be very honest, India is in a very good place. I feel quite amazed, though our COVID number of cases have been increasing, but I believe India is going to be a change maker because the kind of attitude, passion, the things that we do is phenomenal. And one of the reasons I chose to move back is the action is here. And I'm sorry, I'm hardcore at Indian, that's a different story. But I love to give back to my country. So I lived in Singapore for 10 years. I said, no, it's time. I want to go back. I want to do something different. India is the next innovation hub. There's so much talent. There's a lot of things happening. Though we have second largest populated country in the world, but we have a lot more brains. Maybe we say we don't have infrastructure, but everything happens if each one of us think through that direction and how do we make a transformation for our country. Yes, we will be a good example that we can set in this world. An example is our Prime Minister is talking about how do we have this Make in India happen, and this is the time. Today, if you look at a lot of exports have been stopped, imports have been stopped. So it is time to innovate here. It is time to build our own economy and make us look great. And that is when I propose this creating of this National Health Registry. It can't be any better time than now. If the government makes it happen, we will set an example at a global level. So we all have to put our efforts. Never focus on our end result. We don't know but we shouldn't stop trying. Just because some things doesn't come through or doesn't happen, doesn't mean you give up. You have to continue to keep throwing your stones. Someday one might even respond. Similarly, like I never went and looked for any to become a thought leader or any of this. It came my way because I continued pursuing with my passion of learning, researching, and giving something and talking something meaningful. Today, I realize the value of what I can bring. So I continue doing that. So we have to keep doing to bring the transformation.
Sure. Thank you, Shree. You've also worked closely with the Singapore government, right, and the public sector. How easier was that in terms of a citizen being able to do that versus, let's say, back in the home country?
My first answer is extremely tough. I didn't know what I got into. I was a woman first. I was a foreign national, and being a foreign national, a woman, it was extremely difficult to break that mold within the Singapore government. Initially, it was a big challenge. People would, because they don't like the race. It's a very common factor. Chinese don't like Indians. It's always the cultural and the racial the racism existed quite strong. It is very obvious. Even at a workplace, there was always the cultural difference that would come up so strongly. Unless and until you're some great value or asset, something that they need from you, and it was very obvious. But the thing that happened was, I was very persistent that I want to be able to value add. It's see, when you can prove yourself, when you can show how you can make a difference to the business, to whatever that you're doing, I'm telling you, things turn around. I still remember I would be the only woman sitting there in the meeting with 9 Chinese men in the government. But that gave me the confidence as to how do I get my voice heard, how do I drive home the message. And the same, with Land Transport Authority of Singapore, the managing director gave me two references saying she's the best thing that's happened to us. And they gave me a reference letter that if somebody, it's on my LinkedIn, they gave me this reference letter that she is the best, and anybody should have her. It's sort of, that is a big deal for me. To me, that is the feather in the cap. So to achieve that, you need to show them what you can do, how you can bring value to their country and business. I used to champion, and I'm very proud even today. I will be the ambassador for the Land Transport Authority of Singapore, the MRT system, because I worked with some of the amazing people who never are in the front. Nobody understands these great people who are working behind the whole efficiently running of the public transportation, the MRT, the metro over there. And this one person, he's 25 years, he's the CTO of this organization. I always go and tell him, you know what, your job is so thankless, but I will thank you from my heart, because you've done what you give this world is something not known to the world that you do. It's you people who make this transportation seamless and highly efficient. So these are the things that when you recognize, you value them, it builds it all. But you have to break the glass ceiling, and people will recognize there are going to be challenges, but nothing stopping when you are persistent in going and doing what you want.
Sure. Thank you so much. So we will wind up the session here. For more questions, to reach out to us offline on LinkedIn. A round of thanks to our participants for joining us today, and special thanks to Shree, our guest speaker, for her time and the value-add takeaways from her journey. We encourage you to connect with us via our social channels to know more about the MIT ID Innovation Program and our upcoming webinars and online courses. I'd like to invite you all to our next webinar on Monday, 15 June. Our guest speaker is Mr. Philip Varugis, Vice President and Global Lead Applied Intelligence, Analytics and Innovation, Accenture Security. He will be sharing his insights on driving innovation and living in a world of future systems. So please register in case you haven't yet. And for those interested in enrolling for the one-year course, we have last few seats left for the second cohort of this prestigious program that will fast-track your career path. Log on to www.mitidinnovation.com to kickstart your innovation journey with a diverse set of co-innovators. Shree, thank you so much for your time, and it was wonderful listening in. And yes, do stay connected. I'm sure we've got another round of collaborations coming up.
Priya, thank you all. Guys, you were all, thank you so much for listening in. But anytime, feel free to connect. And one thought I'll always leave you, sky's the limit. Go and reach for whatever you want. And if there is anything stopping you, your own best friend and your own, worst enemy. Go get it. There's nobody to stop you. There's so much of opportunities, and become an innovator or whatever that you want to be. Thank you all for this wonderful opportunity once again.
Thank you so much. Everyone, stay connected, stay safe, and please keep innovating every day. Take care.